Kuzuzampo, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program. I'm Bhutan. Our top stories this week: His Holiness the Jikempo appoints a new lum and a new principal. More guidance counselors required as students get exposed to mental health issues. And farmers of Central Georg in Peru losing their cattle to frequent wild dog attacks. His Holiness the Jikempo appointed a new principal for a dasa in Wandifoda and a new lum for a monastery in Tsirang recently. His Holiness conferred Tashi Legdar to the appointees at His Holiness's residence in Thimphu.
30-year-old Sonam Topke from Wandifoda is the new principal for the Dolung Sharap Yusil Choling Gyunzin Data at Kotokha. He started his monastic education at the age of 8 at Wandifoda Rabde. Prior to his current appointment, he was managing a Buddhist center abroad. Similarly, 34-year-old Lawang Doji Tamang from Samrup Jongkhar is the new lum of Solinkar Lakha in Tsirang. He graduated from Sharapsi College with a bachelor's degree in English and Environmental Studies in 2011. He then joined Kanglung Shedra and later studied at the Tango Dorden Tashitang Buddhist University. Prior to his current post, he was rendering social services to the Lhotsam community in the southern part of the country. For Sonam Tenzin, Pemasaldun Sring, PBS News.
The Inikachu hydropower project in Tongsa is now expected to be ready only in 2023. This is the second time the deadline has been pushed back. The delay this time has been attributed to the pandemic and geological issues. The 118-megawatt hydropower project was initially set for completion in 2019 and then pushed to 2022.
About 75% of the overall works are complete so far. Officials say things are now back on track and works are progressing according to plan. The powerhouse, which houses the generators and turbines that produce the electricity, is about 80% complete. Inside it, preparations to install rotors in 2 turbines are in full swing. A rotor is main component inside a turbine that spins the machine to produce electricity. Officials say this will take a minimum of 4 months. The 2 turbines will each have the capacity to produce about 60 megawatts of electricity. Meanwhile, the dam construction at Chendipji, which is 12 kilometers away from the powerhouse at Thumangdra, is also nearing completion. And as for the 12-kilometer tunneling between the powerhouse and the dam, only half a kilometer is left. Meanwhile, project officials said seepage of water and loose soil while tunneling caused the delays. Another challenge was replacing most of the foreign workers that left last year due to the pandemic. The project employed inexperienced Bhutanese workers, and this slowed the work progress. Recruitment of skilled workers from India continued after the situation improved, but the 21-day mandatory quarantine discouraged many from coming in. Shortage of quarantine facilities at the border entries was another challenge. The project had to bring in workers by air so that they could be quarantined in Paro and Thimphu. Procuring construction materials and equipment was also delayed because of lockdowns at Pincholing and Nganglam. However, officials say there will be no cost escalation. The project is expected to be constructed within the overall estimated budget of 11 billion Newton. Pasa, BBS News, Tongsa.
The opposition party Drukpinsum Sokpa wants the government to continue with the practice of preparing a draft 5-year plan. According to the party, the absence of a draft plan will lead to highly random and politicized planning and resource allocation.
A press release from the DPT states the party learned that the present government is adamant on discontinuing the time-tested development planning tradition of preparing a draft 5-year plan. The opposition leader Doji Wangdi says the decision will disrupt the socio-economic development.
The Mangilgi, the Gotamgi, Lamluchi Shunila, resource allocation formula. The Hanisude, the Matube, Jonsi Shunila. The Hani Changilgi Chashidi, Najargi, Rang Yubranlitin, Mip Chigale, Sego Shunila. The Disu Nachi Rangi Gehabnale Kadimchi Tunina, Chi Gehabnale. 대 롤레 균리 베디비로 낭진 베디비로 대 가dim치 슈급 예비나 다 하네스기 전래양 마치기 시트밤니기 전래 대 창유 진리 철시 진리디 고시 주니라.
He says a draft 5-year plan provides continuity from one plan to another. It forms an important basis for an elected government to build its 5-year development plans and programs in line with the national vision and goals.
ngachir gelonggi migul kachi choktoda sachin jisulu de to pongse shuni nipodi ngachira chashida changul jisu de danyam dangdengi tolle gotambeni de lungcho danyam gi gompel dile to pongse shuni la the somebody ngachira sani shungi de genkurda wanse le digi topon de dizumbe ngachira shiyubgi genkuda shiyubgi kerik le de topon se shuni la.
With just 2 years left for the current plan to end, the opposition wants the government to immediately advise the Gross National Happiness Commission Secretariat to initiate the process of drafting the 13th 5-year plan. The Prime Minister was not available for comments. This is Sringdandup, BBS News.
Despite strict rules in place, people still continue to breach COVID protocols. In just a year and a half, the police in Thimphu have arrested more than 150 people for breaching the law.
It is 10 p.m. and the second patrolling team consisting of the soups and police are moving out. One of their main aims is to ensure that all businesses are closed by this time. But just a few minutes into their round, they encounter a shop that is still operating past the closing time. The team says this is a daily affair. Despite the repeated pleas, awareness efforts and the strict penalties, business owners and the public still do not adhere to the protocols. This year alone, the Thimphu police arrested more than 80 people. They were mostly found operating businesses after the closing time and crossing zones during the lockdowns. Last year, the police caught more than 70 people for similar offences. The police say they will now forward the cases to the court. The offenders will be charged for breaching public order and tranquility. As per the penal code, the offence is a petty misdemeanor which has a sentencing of 3 months to a year. As for the patrol team, it is now 12 a.m. and the end of their shift. Their duty is done, but the job is not over. Another team will take their place and continue the efforts to keep the city safe from the pandemic. Bimasaldun Singh, BBS News.
The Health Ministry rolled out the second dose of COVID vaccine for children aged between 12 and 17 in Thimphu on 13th September. The children are getting the Moderna vaccine.
More than 10,000 children in this age group will be vaccinated in the next 2 days in Thimphu. These children received the Moderna vaccine as their first dose as well.
Thimphu City children are our study area because we have committed with the Moderna company that will also support them in generating some data. So the children 12 to 17 years we have targeted only Thimphu area. Others we couldn't do because of the logistic issue.
Last week, the Health Ministry announced that the vaccination will begin tomorrow across the country. But now it might begin by end of this week or beginning next week. Meanwhile, the children in other districts will receive the Pfizer vaccine. The country bought nearly 200,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine recently. There are about 75,000 children in this age group and only about 16,000 have not received their first dose. Choni Dama for BBS News.
If what the school guidance counselors say is any indication, promoting mental health in schools in the country has become crucial. They say these days many students are facing mental health issues that affect the students academically, socially and emotionally. But tackling the problem is more challenging without enough counselors.
It's very important to monitor your negative thoughts. Dikki Chodan is the only counselor for nearly 1,000 students of Changangka Middle Secondary School in Thimphu. She provides at least 5 counseling sessions to about 10 students monthly.
Being the lone counselor and not being able to reach out to each child is quite one of the challenges that I felt. And another thing is competency development for counselors, because especially school counselors, we don't have a specific area of focus. You know, like, okay, academic, career counseling, or okay, addiction, we have to deal with so many diverse cases.
Like Dikki, today there are about 177 school guidance counselors in the country. And for most of them, the counselor-student ratio is double of what the America's School Counselors Association recommends, 1:250.
We encourage students to come forward and then share their issues or concerns, but there arises a gender gap. The opposite sex, they won't feel comfortable to come and open up with us.
One counselor in the school is not sufficient. Like, she's doing all the work by herself, and many students are like not able to get in contact with her when they need it.
According to the counselors, stress, anxiety, depression, and substance abuse are some common challenges the students face.
I think we're stressed mainly because of the pressure that we have to do well, the pressure to have everything together, and also social media, for one, has played a big part in elevating a lot of people's stress.
As per international studies, school counseling can help young people manage mental health issues, and identifying problems early help them in getting timely support.
We need to invest in more counsellors so that we can get more interaction between counsellors and students. The second is, of course, the skills of the counsellors are really important, and perhaps there's a need to boost their capacity to be able to deal with some of the issues that students are dealing with. And lastly, I think the curriculum itself in the teaching environments that we have in Bhutan can be enhanced by having social and emotional learning curriculum.
I think we need to do a lot of advocacy on counseling and put counseling in a frame where everyone views this as a help, as a support, and not stigmatize on people seeking support.
The Education Ministry says it has been providing postgraduate in counseling to 30 graduates annually to address the shortage of school counselors. A study on mental health issues among young Bhutanese in 2016 reveals that nearly half of the adolescents have some mental disorders, making them vulnerable to suicidal behaviors. It recommends the need for a holistic intervention with the support of children, community, teachers, and parents. Sunampem for BBS News.
After nearly 5 months of online studies, students of class 7 and 8 in Phuentsholing Thomde are finally back to school. Their classroom lessons resumed from 13th September. The schools in the town were closed following a lockdown on 16th April. And they continued to remain closed even after the restrictions were relaxed more than a month ago.
Today, sitting in the classrooms wearing face masks in the scorching heat, the students have no complaints. In fact, they are excited that they could return to school. For now, since 2 schools in the Thomde are used for COVID-19 related purposes, their class 7 and 8 students have been accommodated in other schools within the Thomde. According to school authorities, they are functioning with strict protocols in place, which the Southern COVID-19 Task Force prepared.
sumjiti chidi jadi iswinde staggering them jadi iswinila da pena becheng achi doba khongi chechen dambo gochudalu machi aledu wonu gochudu sunila da khongi da chapsangi bam dedalu ngachigi da lockdown debi sunila gasojen this is also benigila.
Meanwhile, Phuentsholing has not detected a single COVID-19 positive case from the community for more than a month now. For Sonam Penjo in Phuentsholing, Kelzang Chodan for BBS News.
Wild dogs are becoming a nuisance for farmers. After the people of Wantifoda, now it's the farmers in Paro who are complaining of the canines attacking their cattle. A pack of wild dogs reportedly killed about 20 cattle in Zenthogeog in the last 2 weeks. 70-year-old Thawangdema says that wild dogs killed all her cattle.
I have 3 cows, and the wild dogs killed them all at the same time. We heard the cows bellowing and we rushed to the site, but by then they were already killed. We release our cattle in the morning for grazing and they return by evening. But that day all my cows were killed, including a pregnant one.
Many of Sawang's neighbors share a similar story.
If I had sold the cow, it would have fetched me at least 15,000 ngutam. Unfortunately, I lost it to the dogs. I didn't even see its carcass. All I could collect was some small pieces of its head. I still have about 8 cows that I'm keeping a close watch on.
Last year, I lost a horse and 2 cows to the dogs. I informed the relevant officers, but we didn't get any support. We will be able to let the cattle graze freely only if the relevant officers do something with the predators.
Recently, a pack of 8 dogs attacked our cattle. The same thing is happening in the neighboring village.
The Gyeog's livestock office received complaints from 3 villages so far. According to the extension officer, the office is compiling a report of the number of cattle lost to wild dogs. It will be forwarded to the relevant agencies. However, the official says the chances of getting compensation are less likely. Wild dogs are not listed as protected animals. As per the law, the government only compensates properties and lives lost to protected animals, such as tiger. Meanwhile, with attacks on cattle becoming rampant, the people of Zentho are also worried about their safety from the wild predator. For Inikachu in Paro, Pupkem, PBS News. For several decades, the farmers of Geserling in Tagana have not cultivated paddy. They had to give up paddy cultivation after the water source used for both irrigation and consumption started drying up. Hope seems slim, with the Gyeok office saying there is no other reliable water source in the community.
The fields here in Geserling Cheok are overgrown with bushes. Had there been enough water for irrigation, it would have been filled with lush green paddy saplings. 28 acres of wetland belonging to 35 households of Upper Geserling have been left fallow due to the acute water shortage. The farmers said they even resorted to rainwater to cultivate paddy, but it did not work out.
When we depend on rainwater for irrigation, it delays paddy cultivation because we usually receive rainfall in the 6th month of the Bhutanese calendar. When the paddy cultivation gets delayed, the yield can't meet even the cost of production.
The paddy production is better only if we can start paddy cultivation works within the 4th month of the Bhutanese lunar calendar. If not, most paddy plants cannot bear grain.
The
Gyeok and Zonghak administration has been trying to supply irrigation water to the Cheuk, but without a single water source, we couldn't do anything so far. We even tried to solve the shortage through the water flagship project last year, but farmers couldn't locate a water source.
With the possibility of getting irrigation water uncertain, some farmers are looking forward to converting their fields into dry land. Otherwise, they said, providing water pumps could also address the issue to some extent.
The problem with wetland is we can't transfer it to our children as inheritance, and also we can't construct houses on wetlands. If we are allowed to construct houses, we can rent it out to teachers and Gyeok staff.
We have a stream locally known as Imri Khola, which is located at the bottom of our Cheuk. The stream never dries up. We would be grateful if the government could provide us water pump facility to irrigate our paddy fields.
After consulting with the Dzongkhag administration, we have submitted a copy of thumb holders of wetland to the Dzongda, the Dzongkhag's National Council member and MP of Thamu Zingkha Tashiding constituency. They are aware of the problem, but we submitted the copy so that they can consult with relevant authorities in the capital to look into the possibility of converting wetlands to drylands.
Until the water shortage is addressed, the farmers here will not be able to harness the power of what their wetlands have to offer, bountiful rice harvests. For Pemathong in Dagana, Pemasaldun Sring, BBS News.
In sports, the race for this season's BOB Bhutan Premier League title hangs in the balance as the top two teams remain level on points with 2 games each in hand. Both Paro FC and Thimphu City FC will look at securing all points from the games. And interestingly, the two giants will face each other in the last game of the league early next month.
Thimphu City FC and Paro FC are at 41 points each. However, for now, Thimphu City FC are leading the table with goal difference. The road ahead for Thimphu City FC looks tough as they face Transport United FC and Paro FC. Observers say Transport United FC, who recently defeated Paro FC and are placed third in the league table, could stir up trouble for the defending champions. Nevertheless, Thimphu City FC will be eyeing to put up their best performance and seize a crucial 3 points from Transport United FC. And if things go their way, a draw with Paro FC on 2nd October will be enough for Thimphu City FC to defend the championship title.
We try to focus on our own games and try to rectify any mistakes and just take one game at a time. But Transport on lead, they have been performing very well. It will be a very intense game on Saturday, and hopefully we can get the 3 points and put some pressure back on Paro.
On the other hand, Paro FC sit with a slight advantage as they will take on a relegated team, Gelifu FC, before facing Thimphu City FC.
The match between Thimphu City and Transport United, the result of that match will have a huge impact on us. If Thimphu City wins, then we are going to go for the final match where it will be a must win for us. However, if Thimphu City draws or loses to Transport United, we just draw with Thimphu City in the final match, we will be the title winner. At the moment, we are just looking at grabbing 3 points so that we can go for title contention to the finals.
According to the Bhutan Football Federation, in case the top 2 teams are level on points, they will consider goal difference to break the tie.
So it will be goal difference, and after that we'll look into the hit. I think it will go down to the wire because the last game will decide between Power FC and Thimphu City FC.
Meanwhile, Transport United FC with 37 points will have to win the remaining 2 games to stay in the title race. And for them to win the league, Paro FC and Thimphu City will have to lose a game each and their match against each other should end in a draw. The winning team will take home a cash prize of 2 million ngutam. The runners-up will receive 800,000 ngutam. This is Ringdandup, BBS News.
Thank you for joining us. That's all we have for you for this week.